Hey, welcome to Added Beauty. Today is, I want to say day 19. I'll have to double check that. I am working towards a personal goal of 100 videos. The original goal was 100 videos in 100 days. I have not kept up with a video every day, although I've been pretty close. I wanted to start this goal as close to the beginning of the year as I could. And I think I started around the 5th of the year. And then I've been pretty consistent most days, with a few days off where like I was on vacation or just exhausted, right? Like you gotta give yourself a little grace. I'm reminding myself as I say that, because I expect to finish things when I say I'm going to, and it bugs me if I don't. So this video, it's kind of going to talk about that, is like consistency, right? I look for consistency in friendships, I look for consistency in relationships, and I look for consistency in myself. Just something that I expect. So one of my two mantras for this year is focus, follow up, and finish. And that's what I keep reminding myself when I feel like I'm getting a little bit off kilter or slowing down on some things that I wanted to keep my foot on the gas with. Focus, follow up, and finish. So what does that look like for me? Well, in my lifetime, let's see, I started my first college degree right out of high school, and I'm going to UCLA through a series of events that, I thought I wasn't going to go there. I was going to go to fashion school. I was going to go to Black college. I was going to do all these different things, and then I ended up at UCLA. Not like that's a bad place to end up, but it wasn't my original thought. And then I was dating this guy, and I broke up with him, and I went out with a girlfriend of mine to actually celebrate being free. And I was gonna, just not be in a relationship for a while. I was like 19, right? At that point, 18 maybe even. Because I want to say it was my first year of college. I know I started college at 18. So I might not have even, or I might have just turned 19, I don't know. But so, no reason to be in a locked in relationship. And went to the club to party, and wouldn't you know it, that's where I met my now ex-husband, but that's where I met my husband. And wasn't looking for a relationship. He chased me down. All the flowers, cards, candy, jewelry, trips, all that. And not because of the stuff, but because of the intention that seemed to be there and the consistency that seemed to be there, did I fall for it. But of course later on I realized that wasn't what I needed, and it didn't ultimately work out for us, but it was intense at the moment. But all that to say, I derailed my original trajectory because we got married young. I got married when I was 20. I had a kid at 21 and a kid at 22, and then I was divorced at 25. And so it took me longer than it should have probably to finish my first degree, because I did it with littles on my hip, basically. I remember I took my son with me, my firstborn. I remember pushing the stroller uphill on the UCLA campus to get to class. And I remember sometimes he'd get a little fussy in the class. He had colic and other things going on. There's early signs that there was other stuff going on. And I had a couple classmates that would want to hold him because he was pretty baby, gorgeous baby. Or, they'd offer to take notes to help me or whatnot. And, I just kept pushing. And for a while, though, I did have to stop. When my then husband and I were going through separation and divorce, I had to stop and, get another job, move in with my grandfather, took the kids, we moved in together, and for a while we shared one room, me and the babies. For a while, we were on the pull-out couch, or we were, I think I saved up enough money to buy us a bunk bed at a point. So it was like the upper twin and the lower full-size bed. Because the pull-out couch gave out after a point. And, you know, it's not meant to be used every night, those kind of couches. But I had to get real focused, right? I went back to school because I had stopped at UCLA for a bit. I went back to school. You know, that's me turning on the fan, getting hot. And I hustled, right? I found a job. I was going to school full time. I was driving an hour each way. I was sprinting across campus to get to my 8 o'clock microbiology class. And I was just doing it. The kids were in preschool at that point, so I was running back to pick them up, and my routine was like, come home, you know, grab the kids, get everybody fed, including my grandfather. I was trying very hard to be, you know, not a burden, because he was letting us stay there when my marriage fell apart, and at the time my ex-husband had made it clear that he wasn't interested in trying to be helpful with the kids, or, you know, what his responsibilities were at the time. And so we were doing the best we could. I mean, it wasn't a bad situation in comparison to a lot of people's situation. My grandfather lived in View Park. We weren't slumming it, but, you know, we were sharing a room. And, you know, I was trying to do things like make sure I always cooked dinner, make sure that, you know, we never had a mess in the house, so it didn't feel like a burden for the kids to be running around there. And bless his heart, he was, my grandfather was the best. But, I mean, like, he would sometimes pick them up from school for me. He'd put them in the car and take them to McDonald's and get them a little ice cream or whatever. He'd put them on his knee and read them a story. And so it's actually probably worked out better for them that way. But while all that was going on, I was struggling. I was trying to do all the things, you know, get my snapback body together. Going to school full time, working full time, trying to get the kids and their little homework done. So by the time I got home, made dinner, got the kids sorted, did their little homework with them, put them down, then I would start my homework and crash out, and then get up in the morning and do it all over again. And you know, it was a lot of things. It was good things and not so good things, and it was hard, but I got through. I got through my first degree. It, you know, was a protracted period of time from when I started to when I finished, because of all of the things, to getting married, to having the kids, to getting divorced, to fighting through it all, but I finished. And then that's when I had finished a degree in Afro-American Studies and film. And then I was like, okay, that's great. But also I gotta pay these bills and I gotta support these people. And I wasn't getting help with that. So I had been working at the bank. I think I said that in my last video, or one of the last videos. And I got robbed at gunpoint. And I thought, well, I can't get murked right now, because who's gonna raise these babies? I can't depend on their dad to do it at this point, right? We know that. And I wasn't so sure about how I felt about how it would go with his side of the family helping to raise them the way that I wanted them raised. And, you know, it's not really shade to them. I'm not trying to bag on them. It's just, you know, different people, different lives. And so I had to, you know, work through it, figure it out. And so I said, well, I can't keep working at the bank right now. I went to a call center for a while instead of being not patient facing. Got to patients later. Customer facing, where I wasn't in a situation where the gunpoint thing had happened. In LA at that time, there was like a rash of bank robbery things happening. People were on sprees with it, and I remember at one of our sister banks, it was one on Crenshaw, and I want to say Crenshaw and Slauson. There was a branch that's not there anymore, but the bank like manager, they did like a follow home thing and put her in the trunk and took her to the bank and thought they were going to make her open the vault and get all the big money, right? They don't understand that's not how that works. But between me getting robbed and her getting basically kidnapped, it's like, well, so I'm not working in banking right now. And I was also trying to think, like, what could what was stable. I knew I'd be able to pay the bills and support the kids and always have health insurance, all that kind of thing. And that's part of one of my choices for nursing school. I had interest in medical school too, but I figured by the time I got through all of that, it'd be great to say I was a doctor, but I wouldn't have raised my kids. And per my last email, what I was saying, like, I didn't really trust that they would be raised well by other side of the family. So I chose nursing. I did an accelerated program to get through and start making some money to pay these bills and support these kids that I had made. And so down the line, I wanted to go back to school and look at being a provider, maybe like being a nurse practitioner. And I did look at that. I looked at a master's in nursing. I always like to try to keep moving forward, whether it's personally or professionally. I don't like to sit still too long. I feel like there's always something more you can learn or something more you can do. And also, the way my brain works, I like to just keep stimulating myself. I think it's not good to get stagnant, right? So not that you can't be consistent, because that's the word I like. It's behind integrity, but pretty high up there. And so I looked at schools. I actually got into Cal State Fullerton, and I did a master's in nursing leadership. And at the time, I was working my way up as a nurse, so from staff nurse, and I was working in the OR. I had been a NICU nurse before, and at this point now I was working in the OR. And I was like working as a charge nurse, and then I worked my way up to assistant manager while I was doing my master's degree. And that took a little bit longer for me too than I had planned for it to take, because during that window of time, my mom was getting really sick and working her way towards dying. And so it changed the trajectory of what I was going to do at that moment. This was my mom's only kid, and it was my privilege to help take care of her as she was going through the process. But it's a long and painful and sucks a lot of your energy and motivation type of situation when you are a caregiver of someone who's really going through it. And the people who have been caregivers of folks that have been really going through it, you know what I'm talking about. So at a point, I stopped my master's degree for a period just to focus and take care of the things I had to take care of. And then, turning the fan off now, I've got a little cold. Now, I had to jump back in and finish it. And I did. I jumped back in shortly after she passed. And I remember I did it while I was still emotional and while I was still working through all of the things, that you have to do to settle up people's estate, having people come out of the woodwork and ask for things. had a woman ask me at the funeral, not a family member, if she could have a piece of my mom's jewelry. Because her reasoning was because they had birthdays that were close together, and she's always admired my mother's jewelry collection, and that would make her feel closer to her if I could just give her a piece of her jewelry. Classy. Anyway, so I digress. But you know how you're like a stream of consciousness, some things come back to your mind, you're like, the nerve. Anyway, so while you're grieving, while you're trying to, settle up debts, just take care of everything, clean out the house, and yes, give away things. I had a relative ask me for her nightgowns the night she died, before they had even taken her out of the house. This relative came to me with a stack of her gowns. I guess she went in and grabbed them and was like, can I have these? Who does that? Anyway, I said no. Sometimes I've had trouble with boundaries and telling people no, but that day I said no. Give me a minute. And so I went back to school. I did it while I was still going through the things, because I just felt like if I didn't keep going, I might not. And so my mom passed in 2014. I finished in 15 or 16. And yeah, so then the plan was I wanted to go back and revisit the idea of being a provider. So for those of you who are not in medical care, providers are the doctors, of course, but also nurse practitioners or physician assistants, and people who can see patients, write prescriptions, that kind of thing, right? And so I'm already a nurse, and I'm like, I didn't do medical school before like I might have liked to, but maybe now is a better time. Maybe a few things have cleared the decks a little bit where I can consider this. My kids are older, a little bit more self-sufficient. Maybe I can do this. And so I got into Charles Drew, was a postmaster certificate for nurse practitioner, and went through the majority of that program. I think I got down to the last semester, just some clinical hours that were left. I really enjoyed the practice of diagnosing and thinking about things in a different way. So as a nurse, you assess, and that means, what it sounds like. You look, you listen, you touch, you ask, and then you come up with an assessment, right? Whereas the difference in medicine, or if you're a provider, is you diagnose. So you take the information that maybe the nurse has given you, plus whatever information you get for yourself, and then you try to figure out what's the differential diagnosis. What could it be? It's not this, maybe it's this. It's not this, maybe it's this, and figure it out. And then that's when you either prescribe, or and it doesn't always have to be medicine you prescribe, but maybe it's, like holistic people don't always prescribe medicine. They prescribe behavior changes or whatever it is, but sometimes it's medicine. And sometimes you refer, and all of those kinds of things. So it's just a different way of doing healthcare, between assessing and diagnosing. And so I really appreciated that idea of using your critical thinking skills in that way as well. And at that point, I had also gotten accepted into a doctoral program at University of Minnesota, which has a integrative medicine program for nursing. At that time, it was the only one. And I was really interested in looking into treatments that were adjunct to Western medicine or instead of, because, you know, as you guys know, if you've seen in my other videos, I do have, you know, 2 children that have had some health issues, and one in particular who has some ongoing needs. And every time we'd go to the doctor, they would just prescribe. And sometimes it was for things that they weren't even sure that that's the exact differential diagnosis, right? So they're like, well, it could be this or it could be that he's dealing with, so I'm going to prescribe this. And for me, I was like, I don't want to just give him medicine like you're throwing spaghetti at the wall and hope it sticks, and you don't know that this is actually treating the thing that needs to be treated. And also, I believe, and my grandmother is one of the first persons that put that into me, that there is something in nature that treats pretty much everything. I think God put it all here. You know, we got to figure out the combinations and you know, the how, but there's stuff, right? Most of all of Big Pharma is actually based off of something that started out naturally and they changed it and made it into something else. But so I didn't want to be that person that just threw pills at everything for my kid and didn't try the other holistic things, didn't try other therapeutic things. And so I really was interested in that, and also thought it could be beneficial for the community, because there's a lot of things that sometimes people can't afford. There's a lot of things that sometimes the insurance company will deny. And there's also people who don't want to take a lot of medicine, right? So my thought was I would finish the NP, roll straight into the doctoral program, and then practice and have kind of a holistic practice. And, you know, life was lifing. And I didn't, at that time, I couldn't finish it at the time. And so it was very frustrating for me, because I definitely like to focus and follow up and finish. And so fast forward some years, you know, I take care of some things and take care of some people. And now I'm back to trying to get back to me. And that involved getting back to a doctoral program. I looked back at finishing the NP program, and at the time I had moved forward quite a bit in my nursing career, and I work as a director, and you know, my salary had increased and my responsibilities had increased, and including financial responsibilities and things. And at the time, if I would have gone back to finish my NP, because some years had passed, I would have had to repeat some of my science courses again. I would have had to repeat basically all the basic ones again. The advanced pathophysiology, pharmacology, and A&P, anatomy and physiology, right? So pretty much all the big three. And then when I finished, I would have to do that plus my last few clinical hours that I hadn't finished. And then I would have had to start off as an NP, making a significant pay cut. Don't know why they don't pay NPs as well as they should, and there are exceptions, of course, but they have a lot of responsibility. They do an excellent job, but a lot of times they don't get paid as well as they should. And in some cases, they don't get paid as well as PA, physician assistant. Especially sometimes I think because like PAs work a lot in surgical areas. They do clinical areas too, but there's maybe more room for additional money with call or anyway. I would have lost a whole bunch of money and I couldn't afford to do it. And so I kept moving forward with the leadership roles that I was in. And, but it still nagged at me that I wanted to do my doctoral degree. And one day while I was at work, I was, looking at stuff, and the program that I'm doing now popped up, And I was like, oh, that's it. That's the one. That's the one. I'm doing it. And I just knew it in my heart. I just knew it. It spoke to me because I'm studying whole health, which, as you can see, I have reasons why it would be important to learn about treating the whole person and being more holistic, looking at all of the complementary and alternative medicine things that are there, but really focusing on wellness instead of a sick model, and focusing on things that aren't always take more pills, have more surgery. Although sometimes those things are needed, it's not always the answer. So I also liked that the program was actually built out at the VA. And I have multiple, family members going back generations who have served this country and have been veterans and not always have come back and been treated so well. My grandfather was in World War II, my father was in Vietnam, and on and on. So I have a great, is it great or great that was in the Civil War that we have documented. And so, yeah, I felt like a program that helps people to self-determine their wellness, that focuses on helping people to get reintegrated after having gone through trauma or injury and all those kinds of things, or helping people if they may have a TBI or whatever, but just holistic wellness. That was something that was super important to me. And I have the privilege of being part of the first cohort of this program at my university. And so I'll finish this year, and I'm super excited because I'm finishing. I'm well past the starting point. I'm well past the midpoint now. And I am in a home stretch. I have 3 semesters to do. I'm in the first of the 3 right now. I'm like more than a month into that. So I have summer and fall, and I'm done. And that's gonna feel really good to, like a full circle moment to finish. And then there's other things that I'm working on at the same time, right? I have my startup, and I have a lot of good things, working towards that goal of really being live with it, and hopefully helping a lot of people with that. And I'm excited about that too. I think your financial wellness and your physical and mental and spiritual, emotional wellness all go together. If your money is a mess, your mind is a mess, because you can't focus, you're stressed out, all those things. If your health is a mess, you can't focus on making the money. It all goes together. So, these are some of the things that I'm working on. And then for my heart, I'm working on some creative focuses, as you've heard me say. So I'm gonna do some art. I'm gonna take some classes. I'm gonna try some new things, and continue to grow and open my mind on all of those things. I'm gonna keep working on my radical relaxation. I have to be able to balance all of the super serious things that I deal with in a day, and to be able to balance all of the super serious things that are happening in the world. And it's a lot of deep breathing and other mindfulness and exercise and all that. So one of my usual practices has been on a Saturday, which today's Sunday, but I did my Saturday usual, and I hadn't done it for the last couple of weeks, and I felt it. I usually would get up and go to 2 yoga classes. First one is like yin, more gentle, kind of warm into it, stretching, being in long holds of positions, and kind of letting your body just go, ooh, okay, all right, we're good, we're waking it up, we're good. And then the second one is the vinyasa flow, which is a little more intense, and involves more specific positioning and holding and things that get a burn going. And so I usually do those. And then if I have enough time, I would go sit in the steam room for a bit and kind of like detox, take a nice long shower, change into some, something clean, and head over to the farmer's market. And there I get my green drink that I like. And I think it's called Green Zing. And, pick up whatever else I want, some fruits and vegetables, some hummus, whatnot for the week. And then sometimes I get the veggie burger guys, veggie burger and fries. Not necessarily healthy, but tasty. But it was cool that he made all of his own vegetables for the veggie burgers, so maybe a little healthy. Or I go to the bougie market, like Lazy Acres, and get some poke and have a poke bowl. And then that might be a lot of my Saturday. I would work through those things, and then because I'm in school, I had homework that's due. My homework's due every Sunday. Or, doing the things to get ready for the week, right? You got to do your laundry. Ooh, somebody's outside screaming. I live by the beach. People are making all kinds of noises. You never know. But anyway, it sounds like a calm down. Hopefully everything's all good. You have your routines, right? You got to do laundry, put the house back together from whatever fell apart during the week. And somewhere in there, do a little rest, right? Maybe catch up on a couple of your shows. And then Sunday, I usually start immediately with watching a church service, making a nice breakfast, sort of like a brunch here at the house if we're not going out to brunch. I like to go out to brunch. And I have unfortunately put that trait into my kids too. So either we're cooking some big brunch or we're going out. And but I mean, that's a nice Sunday, right? Church, brunch, and you're not supposed to really work too much on Sunday, but sometimes I find myself still doing some work because I feels like there's always some things I'm still never catching up on all the way quite. And setting up your stuff for the next week, maybe sometimes a little meal prep, whatever it is. But I want to focus in even more on making sure that my routines serve me the best, right? That it's not just a routine of work, but part of my Sunday routine is self-care too. So it could be, most Sundays I wash my hair. I wash this hair. And I wash my hair and, do all your skincare stuff. Your waxing, your shaving, your whatever it is. Put on your mask if you're gonna do like I have like a clay mask thing. There was this brand that was real popular for a minute in a yellow container. And everybody was like, oh, it's got turmeric. It's gonna, even out your skin. And I think it actually did work. I haven't seen them for a while, actually, now that I think about it. But anyway, I still have some of it left. So every once in a while, I'll put a little mask on while I'm walking around the house. And my son's like, ew. But you get the idea. A little bit of self-care. Maybe this is your body scrub day. You do your salt scrub or your sugar scrub, and you make yourself all soft as baby's butt, even if nobody's touching it. But TMI. But things that make you feel pampered. That's a good thing to do on Sunday. But so I'm working on getting into a better routine. I got to work on my weekday routine. So I do more of the fitness training on a regular, consistent basis during the week, not just on Saturdays and Sundays. And, but I'm I'm integrating a lot of things right now, right? Still work, still school, still have a business, and a startup. The startup is not my business. I actually have a small business that my daughter runs. And so just a lot of irons in the fire, a lot of balls in the air, whatever platitude or whatever, thing you want to say. Got a lot of ish going on. And I still am working to prioritize my self-care better. And what I'd like to do is hit, at least 3 times a week that I'm in the gym or doing some sort of exercise in addition to the weekend exercise. I do pretty good with my diet on most days, but I think I could do better with meal prepping to also maybe save some money instead of buying as much, DoorDash or Uber Eats or whatnot it might be. And yeah, I'm also, as I said, I'm job hunting at the moment, even though, I have a job. It's time to move on for so many reasons. And so, yeah, there's a lot of things that are going on that can steal your focus. And even in making these videos, right? I've committed to trying to do 100 videos. I was supposed to be doing 100 in 100 days. I've missed some days, but I'm like, you get knocked down to get back up. The Bible says somewhere in there, I think you fall down 7, but get up 8, right? Numbers of completion, all that kind of stuff. I think Cardi B says, knock down 9, get up 10. And, that's kind of a motto of mine too, right? It might take me a little longer. There might be some things that get thrown in the way, but you just keep getting up and you keep moving forward. And I've told people so many times, because I've mentored people too, the time goes by, whether you do the thing you want to do or you don't. And you'll look up and be like, wow, I could have gotten that done if I would have just kept going. And so, I remind myself of that too. It might not happen exactly in the timing that I want, but I will keep getting up and keep doing it again until I finish. And then when I finish, I already have some other goals lined up, and I'll start those and keep going until I finish. So, I say let's do this together. Let's take that deep breath. Let's do it now. Sit up straight, shoot. All right. You can do it. I can do it. Let's do it together. Let's add some more beauty. And let's look back in a while and be like, yeah, we did that thing. We made that progress. I hope you like and subscribe, and hope we can work on this together. We're going to focus. We're going to follow up. We're going to finish together. Have a good Sunday.